The women's gold medal game is set while the men's qualifiers are coming up. The Olympic hockey games continue, and we'll have it all covered for you next on the Locked On NHL Olympic Squad Show.
You are talking puck with the NHL Squad Show. From the Oilers to the Stars, Golden Knights, and the Panthers, the Rangers, Avalanche, and yes, even the Maple Leafs. The Locked On Podcast Network brings together all its local experts to provide the scoops, breakdowns, and comprehensive looks at all the NHL, with plenty of trash talk to go with it. Don't miss the hard hits and glove-dropping hot takes on the Locked On NHL Squad Show. It's time to drop the puck.
Welcome, everybody, to today's episode of the Locked On NHL Olympic Squad Show. So glad you could join us today, and thank you for making the Squad Show your first listen of the day. Don't forget to subscribe to Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode, and thank you for helping to make Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. I'm Gil Martin from Locked On Islanders. I'm here with Glenn Dreyfus from Locked On Kraken, Eddie Garcia of Locked On LA Kings, and Zach Berman of Locked On Devils. We're going to talk Olympic hockey today. And guys, let's start with the women. The gold medal game is set, and maybe to the surprise of nobody, it's the United States and Canada. I mean, the good news is we're getting, the two best teams going head to head. But is there something about this that is also a little bit of a drawback for the sport?
Yeah, I think there is. There's not much competition. I mean, I watched the USA-Sweden game, and you're like, okay, 2 5-0 teams. I know the USA has been, beyond dominant so far, but you would expect a little bit more of a competitive game, and it wasn't. I think it took over 10 minutes before Sweden had a shot on goal. So, this is the matchup we all wanted to see, and I'm sure it'll be a great competitive game. But as far as the overall health of the sport of women's hockey, there isn't a lot there besides Canada and the U.S. We thought, right? They talked about it a lot on the broadcast, how Sweden had beaten the U.S. years ago, and they thought that would be the start of something, the rise of Swedish women's hockey, and it just didn't happen. So I would say overall, not great for the sport of women's hockey that two teams are so dominant.
Yes and no. I agree with you to an extent. I think it would be nice to see some more parity around women's hockey. But at the same time, you think back to over the years, all the great championship matchups, not just in hockey, but in sports in general. From an entertainment standpoint, from a competition standpoint, you want to see the two best teams duke it out, right? It's like sometimes you just want to play the hits. Sometimes the matchup that is going to be the most fun on paper is what winds up being the best. If the people what they want. Of course it's US, Canada. And am I disappointed to an extent? Sure. But when it comes to the Olympics, at the end of the day, I want the two best teams, two best nations competing for gold. I wouldn't have it any other way.
This goes back really, Gil, to a larger question of, do you like dynasties or do you like different teams winning every year? Were the Islanders dynasties of the 80s and the Oilers of the 90s or the Canadians of the 70s? Was that better for the sport? Or is it better when you don't know who's going to win because there's a lot of parity? But Eddie, I'm not entirely sure this is going to be a competitive gold medal game.
True.
I mean, let me throw a name at you, okay? Barbora Yugichkova. I practiced that. She's a 19-year-old forward. Yeah, I know. How did I get it so badly? And I practiced it. Barbora Yugichkova. She's a 19-year-old forward from Team Czechia. She scored a goal against Team USA. in the first game they played. That's also the only goal that anybody has scored against Team USA. They've pitched a shutout for 333 consecutive minutes. They've outscored their opposition in this tournament 31-1.
It's not bad.
And Aaron Frankel in goal has been a brick wall, 3 straight shutouts, including domination of Canada in the preliminary round. So I will be gobsmacked if it isn't the U.S. getting the gold medal put around their necks on Thursday.
How important is it for Canada to at least make this competitive? I mean, this is the sport, you know, it's Canada's sport. It's important to them, and the Canadian women were originally the dominant force in Olympic hockey up until fairly recently. There's a lot of pride on the line here. What does it mean to Canada to get a little revenge for that one-sided loss, where they didn't have their captain, by the way, but that one-sided loss in the round-robin round of this tournament?
I mean, it would be huge for them. But to Glenn's point, the USA already beat them handily in this tournament. So he brings up a great point. While it is the two nations that have been the best in women's hockey in the history of the sport, this particular event, and right now, the USA is clearly head and shoulders above any other nation. They were talking about on the broadcast that this is, in their opinion, clearly the best U.S. women's hockey team of all time. So it's clearly, I mean, when you were talking about this, Glenn, it made me think of the Miracle on Ice. And what did we think? Some of us that may be old enough to remember that. I was little, but I do remember. I know, Glenn, I didn't say anything. Or Gil, I do remember what an underdog, of course, the USA was in that, and of course, the Russia had beaten them handily in pre-Olympic competition. So it makes me. It's kind of crazy to think these two nations could be a women's Miracle on Ice if Canada wins this, because that's how much we're talking about historically this U.S. women's team is.
I can't bring myself to count Canada out. Like, for that reason alone, you don't want to get too high or too low. I think the U.S. wins, but I wouldn't be surprised if Canada puts up a fight and makes them sweat for 60 minutes.
Well, I'll tell you my favorite part of the Canada-Switzerland game, which, by the way, depending on what you look at, this was either a lopsided game or a close game. You look at the final score, 2-1. That's a nail biter. No way around that. But you look at the shots on goal, Canada 46, Switzerland 8. And so it wasn't quite an even matchup. But my favorite part of the game was before the game. You remember Marie-Philippe Poulin sat out a couple of games injured. So it's a long way, a long distance between the dressing rooms and the ice surface. So because the goalies are wearing all this bulky gear, they get driven on the back of a golf cart to the ice surface. And that includes Andrea Brandley, the Swiss goalie. But since they were worried about Poulin and not having to make that long walk on the bumpy concrete, they put her right next to the Swiss goalie. How's that for an uncomfortable ride? The two of them sitting together, and then Poulin goes out and scores the only 2 goals of the game on Brandley, who just played a spectacular game. But Poulin, you see the difference. What if she wasn't playing in this game? Then there might have been an upset. So, yeah, she'll make a difference both emotionally and with her skill in this final. She wasn't in the preliminary round game, but I don't think that'll be enough.
And I would just say, and maybe this is my feelings about the men as well, if it turns out to be U.S.-Canada, it is not a 7-game series. Right? If it's a 7-game series, I think we know who's going to win that. It's one game, things can happen. Yes, there's a prohibitive favorite, but when it's a one and done situation, that's what makes it intriguing and not necessarily a sure thing.
Isn't that why March Madness is the best? You never know.
Yeah, absolutely.
They might.
Well,
you
I'd
go back
also
to
be
Miracle.
gobsmacked. I'd be gobsmacked if they don't put the gold medal around Team Canada men.
No.
You go back to Miracle. They might beat us 99 times, but you
Yeah.
never know.
But this could be the 100th time, right?
This could be the 100th time.
And look, we do have the two best teams right now playing in the gold medal game. So looking forward to that. And hopefully we will see some really good, high-quality hockey and competitive hockey in this gold medal game. And looking forward to seeing how that all plays out. We've got a lot more to get to on today's squad show. We saw something over the weekend that we don't see very often in Olympic hockey, a fight. We're going to talk a little bit about that, plus an injury taking place, all that and more coming up on the squad show.
You are talking.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right, flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock it in. I love futures this time of the year, whether it's picking a team to win the championship or grab a conference title. It adds that extra layer of excitement to every game down the stretch. And now, not only can you pick your cash, but you could also go to the NBA Finals. So visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. We actually saw a fight in Olympic hockey, which goes along with an automatic ejection, by the way. No surprise, perhaps, that it was Tom Wilson who ended up dropping the gloves. And he said he has no regrets about doing that he was standing up for his teammates. Were you surprised by the fight and in such a one-sided game too? And does it have any place in Olympic hockey?
No, I was not surprised by the fight whatsoever. I look, I get that the Olympic rules are different, but the game is changing. We are seeing a shift towards a more physical. We talked about this in the last squad show I was on. A shift towards less finesse-based, more North American style of hockey. And you know what? Only Tom Wilson would go after a French player up like however many goals in a moment in time that was, I guess, relatively meaningless. But I'm not sure who else's minds went to the same place I did, which was, imagine this. 1-1 in the third period, gold medal, Canada, US. Tom Wilson, who is a good player. Canada can win gold without Tom Wilson. Let's say he provokes Brady Tkachuk and gets him to drop the gloves, and both of them get ejected. Tom Wilson effectively kamikazes himself in the US and one of the US's top players out of the game. I could see that happening. Could you?
In the gold medal game,
I think he could use it to his advantage.
I don't know. It's possible. I will say I know who does regret that fight, Gil, and that's the French player who's been banned by his team, his federation, for what was it? Violation of the Olympic spirit.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one, but he definitely has a regret about it. But it's been a very eventful tournament so far for Tom Wilson as an LA Kings fan. I know obviously the incident he had with Kevin Fiala that put him out for at least the rest of the regular season. There are certainly some Kings fans who believe that was dirty and intentional and all that stuff. I, as you know, Gil, I'm not going there with that, even though Tom Wilson has his reputation and he earned it. So he doesn't get the benefit of the doubt in a lot of areas, and I get that. But if you go back to that game, France was a bit chippy, and I know we all know the goal differential is a thing, and you think those guys understand it too. But when someone's kicking your ass like that, there was that hit on McKinnon, and then Seth Jarvis got that kind of shoulder into the face. So I think that Tom Wilson was kind of doing part of the reason why Canada wanted him, right? They wanted him to have that element, if necessary, to, especially in the earlier rounds like this, to kind of lay down the law a little bit if he needed to. So I was not surprised, to see Tom Wilson do that.
Guys, maybe not in LA, but right now they are figuring out where the Tom Wilson statue should be placed on Parliament Hill in Ottawa. Because Wilson, it wasn't just a rare fight. He got the uber rare Olympics Gordie Howe hat trick.
Has that ever happened before?
I don't
think
think
ever
so.
happened before. Yeah.
And here's what was interesting to me. Even with Macklin Celebrini getting a penalty shot goal and 3 points, okay? All the players on Team Canada, what they wanted to talk about was Tom Wilson. Let me read you a couple of quotes. Drew Doughty. When a guy takes a run at one of our big guys, that's what Willie does. It's great to see him step up. Connor McDavid, that's the type of guy he is, type of teammate he is. Nothing but respect for him. Brandon Hagel, that's just what Willie does. He sticks up for teammates. I mean, and I could have gone on. There's more quotes. They love him. Now, during the regular season, do they call him names I can't repeat? Of course they do. But when he's on your team, now he's Willie. Now he's the favorite guy. And you know what? John Cooper, the coach of the team, talked about what an outstanding guy Wilson is in the dressing room. So, the old story, a guy you hate to play against, but you'd love to have him on your team.
I feel like a lot of these players with I guess you could say dirty reputations have that reputation as human beings. Like Brad Marchand is supposed to be like a one-of-one good dude off the ice. Like, I'm not surprised that Tom Wilson's the same way, even though if you ask my fellow Ranger and Penguin fans, they prefer to call him by the boogeyman. But I think he's he's a fun player to watch when you're not, as a Metropolitan Division fan, dealing with him and his shenanigans. I like that he's on. I think he's a great fit on Team Canada. And I understand that you need that blend of skill and grit. And Canada has so much skill, I think they can afford it, maybe more so than the U.S. can.
Zach, I don't know if you agree, but I think the 32-year-old Tom Wilson has refined his game and picking his spots much better than the reckless 25-year-old Tom Wilson did.
Do you remember when the Wilson extension came out? I feel like a lot of us what are they doing? This seems like a terrible move. In hindsight, and credit to Washington, because I think the Capitals have one of these stealthier, good front offices in the NHL. It was a fantastic move, and his game is aging like a fine wine.
He's going to be the next captain of the Capitals.
I would take him on my team tomorrow, even with what happened.
Absolutely.
I think most NHL teams would, as far as that goes.
And he's a bit of a unicorn. There aren't that many guys out there that can do the things he does skill-wise and also do the other things that sometimes are necessary in a hockey game as well. He's a unique player. He really is.
Eddie, I'm going to start with you with this, but obviously Kevin Fiala out, as you said, for the rest of the regular season after suffering an injury in the Olympics. Does this make any of you guys think twice about NHL participation in the Olympics when you add the risk of injury and the compressed schedule together? Eddie, let's start with you.
I had two very unpopular opinions on Locked On LA Kings. Number one, I didn't think that the Tom Wilson incident was intentional or necessarily that he would try to do something like that intentionally, despite his reputation. And number two, I still think it's important to have NHL players participating in the Olympics. There's no stage like it. I've had so many people reach out to me via text or chats asking me about Olympic hockey who are not necessarily hockey fans. The players want it. They collectively bargained it to get a chance to do it. I think it's great. I love it, even despite the worst case scenario for my team and a player on my team. So I'm all in favor of it. And even with the effect on stopping the season and the compressed schedule, I think it's worth it. I do. And I understand the argument against, and especially if you're a Kings fan saying now we've lost an important player, we may not make the playoffs. I get it, but I still think it's important.
I didn't think the Wilson hit was dirty. I just think it was the wrong guy at the scene of the crime. And I mean, it was really scary to see a dude like Fiala face down, stretchered off.
Anybody ever seen a guy face down, stretchered off before? I have not seen that before.
Never.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, and like this might fall on deaf ears depending on who's listening, but it's the nature of the sport. It's a contact sport. It's a physical game. This is just some of the risk that you take. And for a guy like Kevin Fiala, whose game that I love, and I hate to see the Kings losing such a big piece for the remainder of their season, like it's a tough situation to be like, look, I get it, but it's part of the game. It could have been any of our guys, right?
Yep.
Hey, can I shout out something that was even weirder than a Gordie Howe hat trick in the Olympics? Team Sweden pulling their goalie in the last minute when they're leading by 2 goals.
How about the scene afterwards where the other team's celebrating their loss and Sweden looks like they just lost the game? They're just kind of skating out with their goalie because they allowed that late goal.
Because the context is that because of the goal differential, Sweden went from first in the division to third, and now they have to play essentially a play-in game instead of getting an extra day off.
Well, you'll never guess who gave that goal up, and that was Jacob Markstrom giving up that was a chocolate chip muffin with extra icing. Come on, man. Did I mention he's getting paid 2 years, $6 million, and he's not able to be moved off of this year? No, I don't think he did.
Not that you're bitter.
My one other thing with Sweden, it is now the second consecutive game that Jesper Bratt has been benched by the Swedes. Surprising? I mean, he has been having a rough year, and I will be the first to say that I was in the building in Capital One Arena on the 15th of November when I watched Alex Ovechkin line him up in the corner, and Bratt was down for a solid minute and a half. And this was the day after Jack cut his hand in the steakhouse. So I was with a bunch of Devils fans in the upper bowl. And we were like, oh my God, he's not going to. And then Bratt popped up like a cat with 9 lives. He was fine. Or was he? Because since then, he has not been the same player. And he was benched after not going after a puck on a Finland shorthanded goal. He played 9 minutes that game. Since then, he's been benched the last 2. Now, I know there's been some sort of what on earth is the Swedish head coach doing between playing Marks. I mean, Jesper Wallstedt's their best goalie. Play your best guy. Why was Philip Forsberg benched? We all know Philip Forsberg's awesome. Like, it just seems like there is, and this is not a referendum on Jesper Bratt's game or not, even though I don't think he's been his best this year. Feels like a lot of odd decisions. But then again, it would be very on brand for both the Swedes and the U.S. for Jacob Markstrom to suddenly refine his form and shut the Americans out.
We shall see.
The universe.
We shall see how that all plays out. Now, the men's qualifiers are starting tomorrow. We'll talk about that coming up next on the Squad Show. All right, well, it's time for the men's qualifiers, and that starts tomorrow. You've got Germany and France, Switzerland and Italy, Czechia and Denmark, Sweden and Latvia, all coming up tomorrow. Which game stands out most in your minds, guys?
I think maybe Czechia, Denmark might be the most competitive game, but to me, I'm obviously, as an American, I'm watching that Sweden-Latvia game, we're all assuming Sweden's going to advance and have that big showdown with the USA. Latvia, pesky team. We'll see. It's unlikely that, there might be one upset here, but I don't think Sweden would do themselves any favors looking ahead. They've had an interesting tournament so far, for sure. Certainly losing the game against Finland was a big blow, and then the way things ended in the win that we talked about as well. So they've had a bit of an interesting tournament. Hopefully, for their sake, they aren't looking ahead though to a U.S.-Sweden matchup. They need to take care of business against Latvia first. But I suppose that's the game I will be watching, just to see how Sweden looks for an eventual matchup with the U.S.
Glenn, how about you?
Well, I'd like to shout out two of the teams that I don't expect to win, but are probably happy to be there. Latvia beat Germany on Saturday 4-3. It was Latvia's first Olympic men's hockey victory since 2014. Now, the Latvians then had to play Denmark. Denmark beat them, and it was Denmark's first ever Olympic hockey victory when NHL players were in the competition. So whatever happens, these two teams are going home happy, I'm convinced, but I'm also convinced that they're going home.
The game that intrigues me the most is very obviously Czechia, Denmark. I can't see the Swedes dropping this to the Latvians. I think Latvia just doesn't have the top end skill to match what Sweden can bring, even if Sweden isn't necessarily playing at their highest level or what we know they're capable of. I'm interested in how Germany looks, because France is a bit of a tune-up game for them, and Slovakia, to me, is the dangerous darling of this tournament. So do they potentially find themselves looking ahead perhaps a little too much?
Well, of course, France will be without Pierre Crinan, who has been sent home.
Au revoir.
Oh gosh, yeah, he is absent as of now, thanks to what happened earlier in the tournament. So, is there any one team that if you were either the United States or Canada, that you would want to avoid in the next round?
I'm trying to think of the best goalie that would still be available to face, because like we said, one and done. If some goalie has an amazing night, you never know. Unlikely, but I'm trying to think who's the best goalie out there that could still be around.
If Sweden doesn't figure things out, I don't want to see Wallstedt. That's the guy I'm like a little bit freaked out about, but it doesn't seem like they're smartening up and deciding to run with their best guy. So if you want me to say who's the most dangerous goalie that either of these two, it would be Lucas Dostal in Czechia.
I was thinking that too. Although he hasn't been great, but I see him a lot here in Southern California. He's a really good young goaltender for sure.
Elvis is definitely capable of stealing a game as well.
The best roster, top to bottom, outside of US and Canada, I believe, is Team Finland. And maybe the worst thing that could have happened to the rest of the field was Team Finland laying an egg in their first game and getting upset by Slovakia, because since then they've looked really good. And if you look at the names on that roster, they can play with anybody. And so, like I think Zach mentioned, one game, semifinals and finals, I think they're going to be a tough out.
Going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. We have some exciting hockey coming up. Well, if you never miss an episode of your favorite NHL team's Locked On podcast, well, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get your favorite team's episodes ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. So head to the link in the show notes for more information. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Glenn Dreyfus of Locked On Kraken, Eddie Garcia of Locked On LA Kings, Zach Berman of Locked On Devils. I'm Gil Martin of Locked On Islanders. Have a great day, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the Olympics and join us for our next Locked On NHL Olympic Squad show. Have a great day, everybody.